Imagine if you could visit all of the mosques built in the first 2 centuries of Islamic history. Imagine if you could measure these mosques and see what direction people were praying in each of the mosques. And imagine if you could compare those mosques and see what was happening on different dates in different mosques throughout history. And imagine if all of that data for over 100 mosques was easily accessible and free of charge. If this interests you, then there's a tool you need to see. Let's head over to the sacredcity.ca website and have a look and see how it works. Okay, this is the Sacred City website as it is at this time. The site changes. We can look at various things, but let's click on data at the top of the screen up here, and that takes us to the data page. And then if we look over here, we see the early Qibla Tool. We'll look at that. Papers and maps are down here, different papers that I've written that are posted. Over here are the different films, including YouTube clips, and hopefully we'll keep this up to date, plus the Sacred City. If you haven't seen the film, try to see it. It's there in multiple different languages, and a number of different books that I've written down below here. Let's click on the early Qibla Tool, and that brings us up to the tool. Now, at first this might look confusing, but it's actually quite easy to figure out. If you look at the map and you take your mouse scroll, or you are doing this on a cell phone, you can just move your in and out, and you can scroll in and out, and you can see the world at different sizes. So I can easily zoom in and out. Now, up here at the right, on the top, you can look at the categories here, and you can see we're shown now by categories, all known. It says here, let's go down and let's just pick, for instance, the Petra mosques. Now here we have the different mosques that are point to the city of Petra, and you can look down the list. There's over 20 of them here as we discover more, and there are more. They're not. Some of the others are not listed here because we haven't been able to actually check them out. I know of one for sure that will be added to this list because I've heard about it, I read about it, and now we've had someone actually go and visit it and take pictures and check it out to make sure that this is absolutely true. And so we can check these out. Now, it gives us a list here. If we want to pick a mosque, I'm going to pick the 7 sleepers here. I can click on it. Notice immediately down below it tells me it's classified as a Petra mosque. It's never been rebuilt facing Mecca. There's the original bearing. Its location is in Amman, Jordan, and so forth. It gives the coordinates, the year of construction, and I can click on more information. And I can look at different things. Here is the Dome of the Chain, the one just above it. I've clicked up 2 on it. Gives the classification. We have more information. So if I double click on that, it will bring me down closer to it. I'm looking now on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. 2 mosques are visible. Down here in red is Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's just all the mosques are in red. The one we are looking at is in blue, so the color changes. And we can see on the screen the different directions. So the black one points to Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is immediately to the left. The green one points to Mecca, so this mosque does not point to Mecca. The yellow one is the between position, and then the red one is Petra, and you can see this mosque points to Petra. But maybe, because some people have said back in the Middle Ages in the 9th and 10th centuries, Muslims said, well, maybe some of these mosques were pointed at the solstices. So our database includes the solstices. Over on the right here, I can click on the solstice, and now blue circles point. Now this is the sunrise and sunset, and the solstice in the springtime and in the fall. And what do we see? This has nothing to do with solstices. This mosque is here, and we can see it. Now, if I want to get some pictures, want to know more about what is the Dome of the Chain, you can see it's right beside the Dome of the Rock. That's the famous one. Over here on the right again, we can click more information. Double click that on my, and I go down here, and here I get when it was built, where it was built, who built it, some information, and I get to look at it. And there it is. It's round. This is not the dome of the rock. This is the building beside it. I can see what year it was built and who restored it and what happened here and so forth. So it was originally built in 691 by Abdel Malik. And so here it is, and it has a Qibla. It's built into it. Here's a picture on the side, so you can see it sitting right beside the Dome of the Rock. You can clearly see the Qibla, and there it is, and you can take pictures. You see the picture and understand. Now you can go on the internet and do your own research if you want to find out more. Notice that when I clicked on this find more information, it opened up here a new window. So my tool is still visible. I can go back here and see the tool. So I can then zoom out if I want to see exactly where it points to and so forth. Now I'm only seeing the mosques that point to the to Petra. Now I could choose one over here. Let's see what this one. This is Al-Qasr. Qasr al-Qastal. Sorry, I've got up here. I can go through these. If I pick a mosque, now I've got the blue one. It's on blue here. If I double click on this one, it should. Or do I have to zoom in more? No, I'm just going to zoom in. I thought, because I am chosen on it. Okay, let's get rid of the solstices. Again, we can see they have nothing to do with this mosque. We can zoom in up close. And what I'm looking at here is the latest picture from Google Maps. And Google Maps, their problem is that they are the latest picture may not be the best picture. I'm going to show that to you in a few moments. But here we can see the 7 sleepers. We have more information down below. So if you want to know what this is, here I have a satellite picture from another source taken on a better day and different angle, but you can see where it is. You can clearly see which direction the Qibla points. And there's a story about what this mosque is. So that's in Amman, Jordan. So, and we can see this mosque again points to Petra, not to Jerusalem, not to Mecca, not in between, and so forth. So we have a chance to see the different choices that we have. So you can go down and you can look through the different mosques that point to Petra and look at that. Now maybe we want to look at the ones that point to Mecca. So we got to zoom back out. I'm just running my scroll button out so I can see what mosques were directed at Mecca. And you see, okay, look, there are mosques looking at Mecca in the first 2 centuries. Now let's go over to the right-hand column, and here we can see, over on the right, the dates. So the earliest mosque we have is 727 or 109 AH after the Hijrah. So this is 109 years after the beginning of Islam. We have a mosque pointing to Mecca. And we have 112 AH after the Hijrah, and we have the first mosque in the Middle East that is pointing to Mecca. So we have over 100 years with no mosques, 0 mosques that were built that we can tell where they were pointed. So if I look at the Amman Umayyad Mosque, it says down here under the information at the bottom, rebuilt facing Mecca. Never, because this was not rebuilt. It does face Mecca. But we can look to see on these different mosques. If we go to the earlier mosques, I'm going to look at what we call the unknown. You might say, what's unknown? That means they've been rebuilt. So here are mosques. If I pick this one down here, Umar ibn al-Khattab, I can see that it faces, its original bearing is unknown, so it was rebuilt facing Mecca over here in 1793. Okay, and so the original building is gone. We have this building. This is in Dawmat al-Jandal in Saudi Arabia, and it was rebuilt, although the original construction down here tells us it was originally built in 13 after the Hijrah. That building no longer exists. So this is categorized as an unknown because we do not know where that original building was. We can zoom in and have a look and say, okay, it is right there. You can try to have a look at it to see it, and you can click on more info. We can go over here and say, oh, that's what it is. It's in the ruins here, and there it is. There's the old square minaret. But other than that, the mosque here has been totally rebuilt, and it was rebuilt in 1793, as we said before. So you can look at all the various mosques that are out there. And these are the ones that we've discovered, and we are slowly adding some more as well. So these are the unknowns. There are the ones that are parallel. Now you see, well, where did they go? That's because the parallel mosques are all over here. And I've got a couple more to add to the list as well that people have visited. Now we have information. So over time, this database will grow as we gain more information. But those are the mosques over here that... Now, let's have a look and see what kind of unknown mosques are over there. And we have only one that is unknown that's been rebuilt. So we have all of these. Now, how many there point to Mecca? None. This is looking over here in North Africa. How many there point to Petra in the first 200 years of Islam? How many point to the between position? None, because they're all built by Al-Hajjaj, the general. So he doesn't, his mosques, these are the ones he influenced. And then let's go to how many pointed at Jerusalem. We have 2 mosques that pointed to Jerusalem. We'll look at those in just a minute. And then those are the parallel ones. They're all over there. Well, there's lots of interesting things we do. What in the world? A building points to Jerusalem, and there are 2. Now this one, this is the one right over here. It is fascinating. If I double-click up here, it comes in closer. So I can double-click on the actual menu. I can zoom down. There, oops, no image. If you're looking back here, you can see, look, and does the solstices help? Not really. There's one that is kind of close, but that doesn't look like the solstice. But that points directly at Jerusalem. So if you're curious, well, why is there a building with a Qibla that points to Jerusalem? Well, we can have a look. You can go down here to the, and there it is. It's only partially built. It wasn't completed. It's the Qasr al-Tuba. It's in Jordan. It was done by Caliph Walid II, Ibn Yazid, and so forth. Now, there's some interesting things you can read about this. And he was a rebel. He was an interesting guy, spent his time chasing women and poetry and drinking and so forth. And so he did something totally different when he started building this, and his reign didn't last very long. And so the building then stopped, and it's still there, but he's the only one we can find that points to Jerusalem, other than one other. And, okay, we go over here to Herat, to the great mosque in Herat. And this points to Jerusalem as well. This is in Afghanistan. And if you look at it, wow, there it is, directly at Jerusalem. You can see the red line is to Petra, and the yellow line is the between position, and the green line is Mecca. This mosque doesn't point to any of these. These people point their mosque to Jerusalem, as do all of these great buildings here point to Jerusalem. So that's an interesting thing. You can go back and look and find out what is it about these people that Jerusalem was special. And so you can go back and see. But you know what? We don't find mosques that are pointing to Jerusalem in the early days. People who say this mosque points to Jerusalem, actually, when you measure them, they're pointing to Petra. Well, what about mosques that point to the between position? Look at them there. These were all started by a guy by the name of General Al-Hajjaj. And General Al-Hajjaj, his first mosque was in Wasit, which is right there. He started it in 706, and then 708, 709, 710, 712, 15, and so forth, all the way up to the great Haran University and Mosque in 744. They all pointed to the between position. And then General Hajjaj died. He was no longer the ruler of the eastern part of the empire. And you know what happened? They stopped building mosques to the between position. And you can read more info here, and you can look at the books, and you can find out what I am suggesting of why he chose that position. You have to understand his history. You need to understand what he did, why he would have that kind of idea. But there are lots of different mosques. Some of these down here, you'll see the date from 700 to 799. That's because we only have been able to date it to that particular century. But we can tell by looking at all the others that they were in the first 44 years of that century. That's when the majority of these mosques were built, and they all had a between position. Now I want to point out one special mosque. That's right here, the Yamama Mosque. Let's zoom down here with my zoom button. A couple of things about this. When you go down here, you can zoom in quite close, and you say, well, that's not very clear. Well, there's a reason for this. When the archaeologists were digging, they did their excavation. At the end of their excavation, they took their bulldozers and they covered all that they had discovered up with sand again. That was to protect it from people coming and making damage. So it was all covered up with sand. Look here at the right down here. You want to look for more information. That's a picture that was taken at a different time, and you can now look at it during a different time period when it was uncovered. And there you can see the Qiblas, and there you can see what it looks like. So if you want to look back in time, you can't do it with this tool. You have to actually go get the GPS coordinates, then go to Google. Google Maps is the easiest one. Enter the coordinates, come back here, and in Google Maps you can reset the date at the top for when the satellite took the pictures. And so you can go back in time and check, and suddenly you can see, oh, now it's exposed and so forth. Now, the other thing about Yamama that's very interesting, if you zoom out, you'll see it is basically pointing to a between position. And we don't know exactly, well, I mean, I've gone and looked here, and we've done, talked to different people to see what is here. And some people say, well, that's where Madat Salah is. No, I'm sorry, that is not where Madat Salah is. Okay, so if you go hunting, you will find out that, this is simply halfway between Petra and Mecca. So there it is, and that's where it points in this area. What is interesting is that Yamama, if you look at it, and you can turn on the solstices if you want for a minute, and so, well, you could argue a little bit, but really, as you see, it's off the solstices. What is it pointing to? It's pointing to a between position, but Yamama is special because Yamama is between Petra and Mecca. They didn't get it wrong, just, oh yeah, they were off a little bit. No, this mosque is between Petra and Mecca, and it is pointing north, even though Mecca is south of it. This I hope you can see that the pattern is here, that these are let me, oh no, I'm going to go back and show you. There's the Petra mosques. There you can see the pattern. There's a few later that point to Mecca, but there's the between mosques. So first of all in history we have the Petra mosques. Overlaps a little bit, but there's some between mosques that are here. Overlaps a little bit by the parallel mosques that come out here and so forth. Now maybe you want to check by age. Now you need to know something about history. But the ages we have here is, these are the mosques that date back to during the lifetime of Muhammad. We can click on those. Then here are the mosques that follow with Abu Bakr during his lifetime. Here are the mosques, they've been rebuilt. Here are the ones during the time of Umar, and you can see those mosques there. During Uthman's time, they're there. From the Umayyad to the second Fitna, you can see there, you can go through, that's the second civil war. During that time of fighting in the second civil war, then of course you get afterwards, there are a lot of mosques are built after the civil war, because this is when Hajjaj comes on the scene and has all his mosques. Now, these are when they start over here in North Africa. They start to build mosques over there. You can get an idea. Then the Abbasids come along and they're building their mosques. Now you're getting a few that are pointing to to Mecca, and the majority during the Abbasid reign. And then this is during the time when the Abbasids are in the east and the Umayyads are in the west, and you can see when they're building there. That just gives you a little bit of time, and there's all of the mosques. Over 100 mosques, and I'm sure you'll find this tool interesting as you can zoom around all over the place. Look at mosques that maybe you didn't know about before. Maybe you go, I didn't know there was a mosque in Jerash. And you can zoom down and you can see it's not this fancy thing down below. It's up here. There's the square. It does not follow the roads. Some people say, well, mosques just got oriented because of the roads. This is a good example of a mosque that was not built according to the roads. The roads are very clear and it's off center. It's skewed a little bit off the road. Why? Because the closest one, now come over to the right and have a look. Petra is 5 degrees off, Jerusalem's 31, Mecca's 35 degrees, between position is 22 degrees, solstices, they don't really count there either. And so that gives you an idea. The closest one we have here is Petra within 5 degrees, and that's apparently what that mosque is looking at. We've tried to line up these with others, but these are the things that come up in my search, and I finally realized that it was Petra, and I went to Petra and found out all the information that deals with Petra. But if you're interested in Qiblas, then here they are, all the known Qiblas during the first 200 years of Islam. I'm not just picking out something and saying, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. These are the patterns that seem very evident to me, and I've put this up here so other people can look and say, well, maybe they are as well. Now, if you know of a mosque, well, please let me know about it.